Hi folks, this is a continuation of my previous video on legal advice relative to protecting your home with deadly force. Now let's take this one step further. You're protecting your car, or you're out on the street, you're protecting yourself, or maybe your family's with you. The general rule is you protect yourself against deadly force with deadly force. In other words, you don't bring a knife to a fist fight. If you're going to get into a fist fight, you don't pull out a gun, even if you can articulate that you are in fear for your life or your safety. Obviously, your physical safety or your well-being would be in jeopardy in any kind of a fight, but that doesn't rise to the level of being able to pull a gun out. And I would even, I'm arguing both sides of this, I would even argue that if the guy is 300 pounds and 6'7", and you're 5'4" and 110 pounds, obviously the odds of you getting the hell beat out of you are pretty good in a fist fight. But I wouldn't be comfortable in telling you go ahead and pull your gun out and defend yourself. Now, the threat and use of physical force could be an aggravated assault charge against you, but every single case is different. But there are some exceptions. In the defense of yourself or others, if any one of these crimes are being committed, you can use deadly force. Arson of an occupied structure, burglary in the first or second degree of an occupied structure, kidnapping, manslaughter, murder, a given, sexual assault, a given, armed robbery, well, if he's armed, you can use deadly force, and aggravated assault. So the first rule of thumb is, this happens every day, road rage. Guy pulls a gun on somebody he's arguing with. So now everything's escalated. If somebody pulls a gun on you in traffic, and I would argue, Arizona doesn't have the obligation for you to retreat. That you don't have to. You can stand your ground is the law. But I still would be very hesitant if a guy pointed a gun at me in traffic to just pull out my gun and start shooting at him. And the reason being is, one, if you miss and you hit somebody that's innocent, some bystander, you are going to get charged with either manslaughter or murder. So you want to be sure, one, of what your target is, if that's a situation, and two, you can't simply just drive away from the situation. Personally, I would drive away from the situation unless I was outside my vehicle, or I'm walking down the street and some guy pulls a gun on me, then I'm going to pull a gun out and presumably shoot him if he's trying to attack my family or myself. But in that situation, it'd be a lot harder to just drive away because you're not in your car. My point is that I'm very, very conservative in the use of weapons because I've seen people that have used them in defense of themselves, and I thought justified. They were righteous in doing what they did, and they spent a long time in jail waiting for a prosecutor to decide, well, he was justified, and they cut him loose. And if you shoot somebody or you kill somebody, your bond is going to be so high, and it may be a cash-only bond, that you can't afford to get out of jail. So while you're working your way through the system with your attorney, you could sit in jail for 6 months or a year. And this has happened to me with a client that was justified in shooting a man that was beating another man to death in Tempe. This was years ago. And my client shot this fella in the stomach a couple of times when the guy threatened him, saying, you want some of this, I'm going to do this to you too. And there were some pretty nasty names being used. It was probably racially motivated, but nonetheless, my client shot this other fella, spent 8 months in jail because the bond was so high, and eventually the state of Arizona decided he was justified in doing that, and they cut him loose. But those are 8 months that he can never get back. So again, just because you are in the right and everybody around you, your family, your attorney, think you're in the right for pulling out a gun and using it, there's always the possibility the state of Arizona or the police, and through the state of Arizona, they don't think that's correct, and you may end up in a trial situation. It doesn't mean you won't win a trial, but you've lost a huge part of your life and what it does to you emotionally, or sitting in jail when you can't work and support your family. So you think really hard in that situation. Don't be so ready to pull your gun out and use it. But if somebody's pointing a gun at you and you firmly believe that you're in fear for your life, then you do what you have to do. And that's the way the law is in Arizona. Thank you. If you have any questions or ideas for these video topics, please email me at lawyer@chuckfranklin.com. That's lawyer@chuckfranklin.com. And I'll consider your topic, and maybe you'll see yourself on my video channel. Thank you.